So let's talk a bit about this cyber skills shortage. What's your view on that? Do you think there is a cyber skills shortage?
I think you hear a lot about the cybersecurity skills gap, I think is the exact terminology.
Right.
Now, I think, to go back to what we were just saying before, I think there is a lack of a certain type of skills. I think skills are too narrow, too segmented, too siloed, and there's a big lack of people, soft skills, and leadership skills. But the way it's being presented is that there's a lack of bodies, that we need 3 million more people to fill roles, and that I don't agree with at all. I think
Really?
Yeah, not at all. I think we could do probably twice what we're doing with half as many people as we have now.
Wow.
And I mean that wholeheartedly.
Right, so how do you do that? How do you achieve
Well,
that?
just look at what, again, like most of the roles are reactive. I mean, the I'm going to say, I usually say 90%, but that's optimistic maybe. But I'm going to say at least 2/3 of security operations work is not only reactive, but it's relatively easily voided. You can just get rid of it by engaging further upstream, so you don't have these downstream issues that you need all these people for. So you can actually eliminate a lot of the work. And then the people that are actually there, in terms of human potential, so a human being can do amazing things.
Yeah.
I think they're massively underutilized. I think they're really, underskilled, or they have skills and they're just being siloed, so they can't use them. So I'd say people in security, most security roles, analysts, whatever, they're not using more than 10, 20% of what they could be doing. I don't think roles are being, someone has an idea for a role and then just throws a person in there. But you've got so much diverse security work and diverse people. We keep talking about diversity. It's like, why don't you mold the tasks to the people? Because most managers are like, he does that, he does that, he does that. But they don't get to know their people and what they're good at, what they'd be enthusiastic about doing. You give something to someone where they're good at it or they're enthusiastic about it, you'll get better quality work out of it. So the roles aren't fit to the people, and I think it should be more people-centric. There's a big lack of training, or I should say there's a big lack of mentoring. Some companies train, not many, and it's very expensive. I think mentoring is far more important, because I don't want my people to be, a CISSP automaton. I want them to go out there and question, why aren't things working? Why do we have patching processes?
Some of the foundational hands-on.
Yeah, start asking why, and drag them around. Bring them in. Shut up! But you're sitting in this board meeting with me because I want you to see how things work. I want you to see what they're concerned about, because it's completely different than what you think.
Yeah.
And I want you to step out of your silo, and I want you to know what the other guys are doing. Cross-training, Alan Alford said this a couple of days ago, cross-training is very important. It increases your capabilities and your flexibilities. But just, even if you're not changing roles, just to know what the people next to you are doing, what they need to do their job, to anticipate their needs and to better help them meet your needs. Little things, just poor tooling, where they're wasting tons of time doing things that they could be doing in half as much time with better tools. This can be really simple. This could be like a second monitor. You get like a 30% productivity gain from someone that's working at a lot of consoles by having a second monitor. Why do you want to spend another 50 grand a year hiring another body?
Yeah.
When you can give two people, spend 500 quid on 2 extra monitors for 2 of your existing employees and get the same work done. And they're happy to do it. They'd rather be doing their job than out tabbing between screens, for 3 hours a day.
Sure.
There's so many areas of lost efficiency. It's unbelievable. And I think the mentoring one is a really, really big one. Because that mentality of being proactive, being curious, of being of sorting things upstream, you pass that on to your people, and then they start actually stopping the issues instead of just handling them.
I really like this concept. You've mentioned this a few times about this, the importance of curiosity as a security professional. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
I think that making sure you're asking the right questions is half the battle, right?
To me, that, growing up as a teenage hacker, to me, that's what the hacker mentality always meant.
Yeah.
And now I've gone a bit more into the leadership side, but for the longest time, to me, that's what it was all about. I do not understand how you can be in security and say, this is my piece of the pie and this is what I do, without being curious about what's underneath. I mean, I talk to people now who are, they're function as a service or software as a service architects in the cloud space, and they literally do not understand that they are running on a physical system somewhere. They're like, well, you're a dinosaur for trying to secure systems. We run in the cloud. They're so...
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Your cloud is a bunch of Linux somewhere, in a bunch of Linux servers in a data center somewhere. But they've gone so kind of siloed and pigeonholed on that abstraction of cloud that they don't understand what runs underneath it. And I think that's a real big problem. You have to have that curiosity.
Yeah.
And that's something through mentoring where you can instill that curiosity. You get them to see things and realize the benefits of this and how much you can actually dig up.
Do you think it's also an education thing? Do you think that that the right skills are being taught even at the university level? Do you think that that's not the right kind of training to get you into the modern security workforce?
I think I'm getting the feeling that there's a lot of it varies a lot between countries and schools, because I'm talking to a lot of young people and being approached by a lot of young people, and they've had very different experiences. But overall, I think it is very much on the science part, the computer science part. And there's some brilliant minds out there, but they tend to be quite focalized in one specific area. This is my problem, and that's what I'm dealing with. So they're missing the bigger picture.
I suppose some are better than others. I mean, when you look at Napier, they seem to be quite ahead of the curve, and Bill Buchanan's very vocal about, so I think some are better than others.
I'm sure, I don't know, I'm a high school dropout, so I don't know what the curriculums are like, but I assume that they differ and some put focus on different things.
Yeah, I think traditionally it's always been a little bit behind. Even remember when I was getting into IT, the kind of courses that we were being taught, Pascal, and it was not relevant to actually what was needed at the time.
Yeah, but I think it's because it's lagging, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think the education system is going to focus on whatever the industry is demanding, and right now that is technical skills. Even then, it's funny because you meet young people. You would think it would be, we just want you to know tools, which already is a problem because by the time you've done your 4 years of college, we've moved on to new tools over here. So that's problematic. But it doesn't seem to be that way because there seems to be a real disconnect between grads and they're struggling to enter the workforce because we don't have the skills employers want. And maybe it's because they have the skills that employers wanted 4 years ago. I don't know.
Feels like one of the things that you're saying as well is we need to make sure that we are tooling security professionals with the ability to cope when things go wrong. There's a fair amount where we're giving them the tools to cope when things are operating fine. How able are they to get to the bottom of a problem without using the tech as well?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you don't have the natural curiosity, then I think you're going to get structure. You're going to struggle whenever something goes unstructured. This is my piece of the pie. Yeah. Well, the pie just went. Where's your piece now?
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think it's really important for them to see the big picture because then as things change, they automatically see how that affects other things, how things shift and how to anticipate them. So I really believe in mentorship, and I think one of my quotes from another podcast the other day was that 1 hour of mentoring will save you days of work because it just gets people to think like you, to do what you would have done. You don't have to micromanage, and influence tends to spread that way. And if your position is to be proactive and upstream and engaging, then they will do that. And that just multiplies your effectiveness as a CISO.
One thing we hear about, and we've talked about a fair amount on this podcast, is whether a more data-centric approach should be taken towards security. What's your view on that?
It's strange. I believe you're the CEO of a company that does something like that.
Clearly an agenda here.
People will know me as being, and I was actually just thinking before you asked the question, I'm negating the tech. We still need some of the tech. Back to our gas mileage, we need that stuff. Okay. And again, you have those incredibly focalized, brilliant people, and they do very specific things, and you may need that specific thing somewhere. But the important thing is, do the basics first, and we're not doing those basics first. Now, the data-centric approach, and I thought this was interesting because I saw a lot of analogies to the bigger picture approach, is that people don't know what's going on. They don't, and to that specific data-centric, your piece is like, they don't know where the data is. They don't know who's accessing it. They don't know, what business process causes what, who's doing it, when they're doing it, why they're doing it. So I think it's one of those foundational elements where, just like we talked before, of you have to get involved with the people on the ground floor and find out what they're actually doing. That's a fantastic technological way of scaling that up.
Yeah.
So that's why, there's so many technologies out there that have minimal value. This isn't one of them.
No, I mean, I'm going to do ourselves down here. I mean, I think that it's a factor. It's not, I think some vendors will make out like,
I quite like that, because and this was, you're so enthusiastic, but you also recognize like, okay, you're running Lepide and it's discovering all this data, but if it's running on completely compromised infrastructure, you can't trust it.
Exactly.
So you realize I do this piece, but I need a foundation, and I like to provide that foundation. Whereas so many vendors we're a panacea, we do everything, and you don't even worry about it.
And equally, you can figure out where everything is, and you can do all of this work. But if you're neglecting to spend the time on the training or the education or any of this stuff, it's all going to go to pot, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of vendors do themselves a disservice because they advertise themselves as we do everything. Company buys that.
It's going to silver bullet.
And then your CEO is like, why do we need anything else? It's like, well, we've got all these other issues here. And they're like, no, we're not giving you budget for that because we have this. That's how they sold this to us. And we bought it.